Planet Computer's Astro Slide audit, and the Astro Slide conveys its commitment of a full mechanical console working with Android, yet its mass and off-kilter size mean it's best as a short meeting-friend gadget instead of a really helpful device. Planet Computer's Astro Slide audit. Planet Computer's Astro Slide audit. Planet Computer's Astro Slide audit. Initially. Master's rating. Aces. It exists. Remarkable pivot plan. Illuminated mechanical console. Cons. Composing is off-kilter. Screen is confined in scene. Exceptionally cumbersome. Our verdict. The Astro Slide conveys its commitment of a full mechanical console working with Android, yet its mass and off-kilter size mean it's best as a short meeting-friend gadget instead of a really helpful device. Best prices today: Astro Slide 5G. Retailer. Cost. Conveyance. Planet Computers. £729. View. I thought about composing this survey on the small-scale console of the Astro Slide, however reconsidered it. Despite the fact that the Astro Slide seems to be a minuscule PC, with its calculated screen on a pivot and little mechanical console, being one is not really trying. This is a gadget planned by and made for registering fans. It's an optional gadget, despite the fact that it tends to be utilized as a telephone. The Slide is best considered along these lines, like how it's ideal to move toward the Microsoft Surface Duo 2. It's for making messages on the train or fixing a line of code without turning on your PC. As a telephone for calls, it is unwieldy. As a cell phone, it is off-kilter. Yet, as the mechanical console gadget it decides to be, it pretty much nails it. Thus, on the off chance that you're craving for a cell phone with a console subsequent to grieving the most recent passing of BlackBerry, this could be the specialty item for you. Plan and build. The Astro Slide is its plan, and a BlackBerry it isn't. This is a novel telephone, to such an extent that I battle to try and call it a telephone positively. The fact that something like this exists makes it great. It has a sliding pivot you uncover by pushing the left edge of the presentation up with your thumbs while holding it in a scene direction to uncover a full yet not standard mechanical QWERTY console. Continue to push and the component gets into its one fixed position at a slight point, and the telephone currently kind of seems to be a PC. The rear of the telephone is a classy gleaming blue and is produced using plastic. This is a reasonable choice to keep a generally profound gadget as light as could be expected, however it actually times in at 325G. It's too enormous and weighty for a pocket. Astro Slide 5G back. Dominic Tomaszewski/Foundry. It looks similar to the Nokia Communicators and Psion Series 5 of the last part of the 1990s and mid-2000s. Somebody at Planet Computers is plainly nostalgic for a past time, yet fortunately they have made the Slide more usable than those old devices because of a substantially more usable, reasonably measured console. The Slide isn't simply a lover trinket, despite the fact that I am certain main fans will have held up an entire 2 years to accept their gadget since they paid forthright for one on Indiegogo. There is real value here, assisted by the presence of an earphone with jacking and two USB-C ports for synchronous charging and information move. However, the pivot just gets into one position. It is a powerfully solid one, with possibly a smidgen of give on the off chance that you push down on the screen as you might need to tap buttons. The unit doesn't move when put down on a work area to type thanks to 4 little however grippy elastic tacks on each corner. Notwithstanding the sharp plan, I am stressed following many long stretches of purpose and huge number of slides to and fro that the system could break. It additionally implies it has no IP rating for water or residue opposition. Console. The actual keys are minimal mechanical miracles. It's noteworthy that Planet Computers had the option to squeeze the entire thing into what is as yet a generally little gadget, regardless of whether it is burdensome contrasted with an ordinary cell phone and it's illuminated. The nerd in me attempted to contain a grin when it previously illuminated. There's a full lettered console with a number line, cursor keys, and enter key, in addition to an immeasurably significant function button that lets a considerable lot of the keys bend over as images or, all the more usually, for easy routes to things like splendor, volume, and different capabilities. Astro Slide 5G opened. Astro Slide 5G opened. Astro Slide 5G opened. Dominik Tomaszewski/Foundry. At first, the more modest size of the console made me type gradually and in a more thought-about style. Yet, when I became accustomed to it following a couple of days and accelerated, it was missed keystrokes that dialed me back once more. I found that composing at my ordinary, moderately fast speed on the slide brought about missed keystrokes. I don't know whether this is on the grounds that you really want to hit each key solidly or dead on, yet when I got quicker, I took a gander at the screen and saw grammatical errors because of missed letters from keys I'd squeezed. It's a somewhat huge problem, seeing as it's the slide's fundamental selling point. I couldn't possibly at any point be absolutely sure that what I was composing would show up on the screen, and that harms the gadget's worth. Without a doubt, it's not precisely an item on which you will compose a thesis or white paper. However, in the event that your shopping rundown or line of code is feeling the loss of certain characters, it will rankle. I wound up generally happy with the console while jabbing at keys with only my pointers. Following 20 minutes or so I got a little wrist torment, yet for altering reports on the fly, the slide was a fantasy, desirable over opening a Google Doc on a vertical cell phone where a portion of the screen is covered by a virtual console. I tried a UK console rendition, yet you can pre-request the slide with essentially any local actual console design including Japanese, Korean, Russian, and Arabic as well as a few European dialects. Astro Slide 5G site opened. Dominik Tomaszewski/Foundry. Show and sound. The showcase is one of the Astro Slide's more vulnerable focuses. It's a 6.39 inches AMOLED that gets bounty splendid and is obvious to type on with a 1080x2340p goal. However, look carefully and textual styles are not as much as pin sharp. It's likewise adjusted to an exceptionally immersed level, with colors on the distinctive side. Different presentations of this size at 1080p look better. However, contact reaction is great while swiping about the OS to open applications and avoid about menus. The adjusted corners summon the vibe of the Google Pixel 2 XL, yet on a gadget intended to be utilized seen, they cut off valuable space and make the screen look somewhat confined. You can compose speedy pursuits or messages when the console is stashed with Planet Computer's own product console, or your introduced programming console of decision, but since that mechanical console simply staying there asking to be tapped at, I scarcely utilized the showcase to type. It's just 60 Hz however, so there's no super smooth high invigorate rate, and text truly does observably apparition when you look on pages. Sound is dealt with by sound system speakers that are on the left edge of the slide, so they face toward you while you're utilizing the console. They don't get terribly clearly and are very trebly, however will truly do fine for video calls or paying attention to digital recordings. Playing music sounds metallic, yet essentially there's an earphone jack for customary, read, simple, wired sound. Astro Slide 5G Legend Shot. Dominik Tomaszewski/Foundry. Specs and execution. The 729-pound slide utilizes the MediaTek Dimensity 800, a determinately mid-range chipset. Here it scored much the same way in the Geekbench 5 multi-center test to the Realme C31, a 129-pound telephone. In the more broad GFX bench framerate tests, the slide stood its ground against the 419-pound Oppo Find X5 Lite. Yet, a gadget like the slide needn't bother with the most recent very good quality processor since it's not intended for gaming or video altering. Planet Computers probably needed to decide on a mid-range chip to minimize expenses. This is a complicated gadget with a mechanical console, all things considered. I didn't run over an excessive number of execution hiccups in my experience with the slide, so 8GB RAM seems sufficiently yet at times I would tap a menu symbol and nothing would occur. Once in a while this was in the camera or settings application and it happened sufficient that it irritated. Regardless of the PC look, the size of the showcase implies this isn't a gadget to perform various tasks on, so once more, the equipment isn't excessively burdened on the grounds that you're quite often going to be working inside each application in turn. There's 128 GB capacity expandable by means of microSD.